Hi, and welcome to Soft Focus, the podcast taking a look at popular movies throughout film history and kind of breaking down the barriers between analytical side and the consumer side. I am your host, Connor Hamilton, and joined with me is
Patrick Guinan.
and
Michael Guinan.
and today we have watched the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off by John Hughes. One of my all-time favorite movies. Great sick home from school movie. What are you guys' thoughts post watching?
I'm a little biased. It is one of my favorite movies as well. I haven't seen it in a while, so it was a treat for sure. Um, my favorite scene is definitely the parade, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in forever, but that parade scene, the people like dancing on the skywalks, that was all just real people dancing on the skywalks. John Hughes thought it'd be cool to just shoot the camera at them, and because they were dancing along to the real parade.
Yeah, I think that's one of the parts of this movie that makes it so popular and like why everyone loves it. Like so much of it was improv and just like real people doing stuff, and then the actors just like having fun with the role and being in it and really like making it up as they go along.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's it's such an I mean, just from the start of the movie, it's so interesting. Like John Hughes does such an amazing job of capturing teenage life. Like the slices of that, like everyone was a teenager, and then like what is it? Like Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, like all these movies like that he made. He made the teenage movie. He made like he was the 80s and stuff.
he perfectly encapsulates in like the first 20 minutes of the film the entire like high school web and like how the freshmen talk to the seniors but don't get all the information, and so they like start spreading rumors.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear like the rumor side of it all. Like that's so funny. Like it's so high school. Like, this person said this and they heard it from that, like all that weighed out, and you're just like, what? Like there's no sense of truth in that anymore. It's a terrible, terrible game of telephone.
yeah. I really enjoyed how while Ferris Bueller's having the best day possible, Rooney's having the absolute worst day, like I could even imagine. And then, yeah,
Dude, like it's just like again from like the beginning of the movie, Ferris sets up his philosophies, and for a pretty like big like blockbuster, like I don't know, like summer movie, it seemed, I don't know exactly when it came out, but the idea that the movie comes out and it's definitely for teenagers, but it's a John Hughes, so he's putting in these life lessons of just like, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. Like, what great words said by everyone's favorite teenager.
Yeah.
And
Scott Pilgrim.
no, like, so Ferris Bueller is such an interesting character on the idea that, like, he's lovable, like the lovable rogue who doesn't have to conform to adult society. Like, he's above it all. And like one interesting thing is always with this movie is I like to take a look at is like who's the hero? Like Ferris Bueller is who you want to be the hero, but is Ferris Bueller the hero?
I'd say that he's like, if you, it depends on how you define protagonist. Because if you define protagonist as the person who starts the movie, then yes, he's the protagonist. But I wouldn't call him a hero. I'd call him more of an anti-hero or a villain,
yeah,
where he is mainly only looking out for himself, and most of the people around him end up hurting because of it in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Like the car and Rooney
Yeah.
and his sister. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you bring up that like protagonist idea and like is he a hero and like the people he hurt. But at the end of the day though, For definitely Cameron and his sister, they're definitely two people who grew. Like Ferris Bueller,
Dynamic.
yeah, he kind of messed them up, but it wasn't really Ferris. Like he did definitely, questionably, I would say Ferris is a villain to adults and a hero to kids. Like that's who he's supposed to be. So when he's like, let's take the Ferrari, let's do all this, like it's kind of it's kind of like a dick move to his friend, but at the same time, like he's like trying to show his friend the perfect day, which I think is really interesting because like Cameron is so like anti his perfect day. Like the best thing I've always heard is who is the since you said protagonist, like who is the antagonist? Like who would you say is the antagonist of this movie?
The principal, in my opinion.
See, I would say that Ferris is definitely the antagonist, and Rooney's just doing his job as the principal, trying to
doing
get
a
this
terrible
kid back
job,
in
though.
school. Well, yeah, I'm not saying he's doing the best possible job he can have, but you know, I think Cameron's really the protagonist of this story, and then Ferris is the one sort of pushing the boundaries, trying to get him to do things he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Very, very true. I think if the movie would have opened up with Cameron follows the hero's journey better than Ferris does, and Ferris is more of a mentor.
Yeah.
But since the movie opened with Ferris, I would argue Ferris is the protagonist, and the antagonist is not Rooney, but in fact Cameron. As Rooney is like, it's his perfect, like, Rooney is more of like comic relief to the movie. Like, he never really gets close to catching Ferris. Even in the end, he wasn't really close at all. Like, Ferris could like easily talked out of that situation and everything. But Cameron, throughout the movie, is the only one who gets close to ruining Ferris's day. Who's like at every turn going, "Oh, this isn't as awesome as you said it was. We got to get the car back." Like being the Debbie Downer of the group. But like in his defeat at the end, as Ferris makes him realize, like he's like, it was the best day of my life. Like I gotta
It
stand up.
definitely gave him the little push he needed to stand up to his father.
Yeah, and I think Cameron and his father is so interesting. Like the idea that really the characters, there's not a whole lot of main characters in this movie, but a lot of them have outside relationships or something like that get solved, or outside problems that the day off solves. Like
Yeah.
in Cameron's case, like he's gonna stand up to his father, and Ferris said earlier, he's not gonna meet a wife, and she's gonna walk all over him, and how can you love someone who you walk all over? But at this moment, Cameron could stand up to his father and end that point in his life,
Yeah. Okay. That's super interesting.
And I think other relationships are really interesting. Like, how do you guys feel about Ferris's parents?
They're kind
Very
of just
oblivious.
oblivious workaholics.
I feel like they were just written that way to make it easy, because like you can't have parents that like know better, or that ruins the entire premise of the film.
Yeah,
I suppose, yeah.
yeah. I always think like, oh man, maybe Ferris's parents aren't good parents, like you said, workaholics, but they check in on him throughout the day, and the mom stops home. Ferris is just a slight few steps ahead of him. He's built up this idea of like, oh, he's a good little boy, and he has the ability to not even make them question him. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's just so interesting. I think the parents are always one of the interesting parts because, like, again, you seem oblivious, but at the same time, like, maybe Ferris is just that good.
Just 10 steps ahead of everybody.
I
to the
do
point where-
think it's all luck though, because of that
Yeah.
the baseball at the end where it just lands perfectly in the.
Maybe he's just got a good throw. Like,
See, Ferris Bueller, I think, is definitely like such a encapsulation of the luckiest human being ever. But at the same time, everyone around the school knows that Ferris Bueller can do this. Like, he can do these things. Like, he helps people. He helps that kid get out of summer school. Like, Ferris Bueller apparently is very versatile in his talents. That he's that popular.
yeah.
I think too, the idea of his sister is interesting. Got another relationship kind of throughout the movie of how much she like hates him for the fact that everyone loves him and he gets away with everything. Like, he's everything she's not. Like, what do you guys think about that?
Michael?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know.
Thinking.
Like,
I never thought of that.
well, so what were you guys' first impressions of his sister?
She just seemed kind of like the least developed. Actually, no, the least developed character in my opinion is the girlfriend. What's her name?
Sloane?
Sloane. She doesn't have much development. She's kind of just the same character throughout the entire film. But with the sister, she's very dynamic because she has that big talk with Charlie Sheen in the police station, and then they make out. Then she changes because she's all happy. So I think that she just needed to have somebody who cared about her in her life for once.
I can see that. How old is the sister compared to Ferris?
I think she's a younger sister because Ferris is supposed to be 18, so I assume she's 16 or 17.
Okay, so she's like a sophomore, junior level,
Yeah.
whereas he's about to graduate.
So I assume that she's been in his shadow a long time.
Yeah.
And she does not have his personality. She kind of hates everyone, where Ferris Bueller loves everyone.
She can't really manage to grasp the cleverness of Ferris and just the wit and charisma to get around any obstacle.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Michael, that you brought up like Charlie Sheen's character. Because I was reading on IMDb little facts about this movie, and one of them is that Charlie Sheen's character actually had a whole backstory about his home life and how that was terrible, and the fact that he and Ferris were actually friends in like the 8th grade, and Ferris couldn't help him, and that spiraled him into like drugs and dropping out of school and things like that. So that's why he takes Cameron out on this day, is that he's trying to not let Cameron down the way he let Garth down. I think that is his name, yeah.
Okay.
Which
I could see that.
Yeah, which I think is an interesting element to the movie.
That adds an entirely new element to the movie.
Yeah,
definitely.
like it adds sadness to Ferris, which I understand why they
It's
cut
like
it
a
out.
tragic backstory.
Yeah, it's almost like he's
It
doing all this
almost
just
gives
to suppress that
it
memory.
gives him motive for this entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes Ferris definitely more of the hero, but he's touchable then almost. Like he's not this amazing person who can do anything he wants, not a care in the world.
Brought back down to human size.
Yeah. So I'm very happy with John Hughes' choice or the editor's choice or whoever to keep it out, because that I feel like that would have changed the movie a lot. And where this movie is so carefree and things like that, that Garth and then that whole thing would be less. But it's actually like weirdly tied in, like the family the mom shows the house to is Garth's family, and then the tow truck that picks up Rooney's car is his family's company.
Okay.
So he was like tied in that a lot, but he
Yeah, that would have been a whole different story.
yeah. And another really interesting thing about Ferris, which I think the original cut of this movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
How long was it cut to?
1 hour and 45 minutes, I think.
Okay, so they took like an hour out.
Yeah. But another bit
It's
was
probably all Charlie Sheen's.
Yeah, his entire backstory.
Charlie Sheen stuff, and then apparently Ferris called his father in the beginning of the movie and asked him about bonds he took out for him when he was a kid. And then Ferris finds those bonds and goes to the bank teller with Sloane and tells her that she's pregnant or something with like a Jeep. I forget the exact line. It was something like a jokey line, but he then cashes the bonds, and that's how he pays for his day off. But they decided to take it out because they felt that would make Ferris seem too like criminally, like he was stealing, when not the like fun guy that he's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, definitely rewatching this years later, he kind of comes off as an asshole.
Yeah.
Like to everybody except his best friends.
Yeah.
And even to Cameron a little bit.
Again, he doesn't really hurt anyone, but like the only person,
But I think that's
is,
luck,
but-
because if
yeah.
he did hurt anybody, then his luck would change.
He's just the chaos coming into their like bubbles and stirring their shit
But
up.
like the interesting thing is like he's a good student. Like if you saw when like his grades thing came up, He has all A's except for one class,
Could
which
totally be the
Well,
computer.
he could have definitely hacked that and changed that, as he proved he could do that for
Yeah.
his absentee days.
but I feel like that's more. I don't know. I feel like he's a hard character.
Yeah.
You break him down and you're like, the entire movie is him breaking the rules.
Yeah,
Which-
even he breaks the rules and talks to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, breaks the fourth wall.
But yeah, we'll get to that in a minute because I want to have
There's
a
a
whole
bunch of them.
But he breaks every rule, and that's like his whole point. But at the end of the day, that's why you love Ferris Bueller. Is the rules don't apply to him. He's above them. Like he's got life figured out better than all of us.
Yeah. That's why we love Ferris.
Yeah, save Ferris. And oh my gosh. But okay, so let's get to the fourth wall since we brought him up. Fourth wall breaks. So good in this movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Definitely,
I
like,
don't know. I haven't seen a bad fourth wall break in a movie.
I don't know. I just feel like this movie did it
Maybe
so...
I'm not thinking of enough movies, but
I just feel like it doesn't
I just
make
think
it.
of Deadpool and Ferris Bueller, and I'm just like, okay, they're both great.
Well, I said yeah. So I can't really think of any bad fourth wall breaks, but I just feel like those would ruin a movie and they wouldn't get really in the public eye.
yeah,
I'm
when
glad
I
there's
think
so
of fourth
few.
wall breaks, I think of Deadpool, obviously, and then Animal House as far as like
Yeah.
best fourth wall breaks. But
And
Ferris Bueller used their fourth wall breaks to like progress the story. Like it was without using like a narrator, he's able to address the questions or whatever issues the audience may have with the situation. It just relieves the tension just like that.
well, and it's also such a perfect narrative method to make you feel like you're going on the day with him.
Yeah.
Like this is your day off too. We're about to have a fun day with Ferris. Like we're in on the joke. And like another fun thing, just because of the fourth wall breaks, the clarinet scene.
Yeah.
They just found that on the set, and Matthew Broderick is like, I can play the clarinet. So they gave it to him, and he sits down and goes, not even one lesson. And they loved it. So
Yeah, he never had actually one lesson.
yeah, he had no idea how to play the instrument, but convinced them he did in a true Ferris Bueller method. It's also really interesting taking a look at like some of the history of this movie and like everyone that was considered to be these characters. Like I forget his name now, it's escaping me, but the kid from Weird Silence, I believe the blonde-haired one, was thought to be Cameron, but I think he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to be typecasted. And then Ferris was a flurry of people, one of them being like Robert Downey Jr. at the time and like things like that. And then Sloane, Molly Ringwald was going to take the role, but Hughes said to some people that he wanted someone more elegant, and to Molly Ringwald he said it's not a big enough role for you, which is arguably true. At this time, Molly Ringwald was, blowing up.
Yeah.
But I think the actress who played Sloane was perfect. Like you said, she didn't grow, but like at the same time, she doesn't need to grow because she's not the 18-year-old. She's still like the 17-year-old. Like life's not changing for her. Like she doesn't need the day off. She got taken along. It was for Ferris and
And
Cameron.
proposed to.
Yeah. I would.
Ferris is gonna marry her.
Yeah. I think it's true, like Ferris has like got life figured out enough to go like, I'm gonna marry this girl. Like,
And I think she realizes that too, and that's what she said at the end.
yeah, he's gonna marry me.
Ben Stein, the guy who played the teacher, like the Bueller. The only part of his scenes that were scripted was the roll call, and the lecture he gave was an actual economics lesson given to the actors. And so then, like,
I don't think
the shot of them being like mind-numbingly bored is genuinely them being mind-numbingly bored.
And he's like an actual professor.
Yeah,
like,
he has an actual doctorate in economics.
Yeah,
if that's
so-
even a thing.
So he just was just talking about. It was just a normal lecture for him.
Yeah.
And it's such a man that this captures of the scenes of the high school I think are so perfect. Like he sets up Ferris's life and the high school and why he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like the kids just like out of their mind bored.
Well, yeah, it was
so
all
good.
before cell phones and stuff, so they had nothing to do.
They literally just had to sit there and take it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But the other fun thing about the high school is it's the same high school they use in Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, in all these movies. So there's always this joke that all the John Hughes movies are wrapped into one, even though actors cross over. But like all these characters actually exist at the same school, and it's just all the teen angst in one high school.
That's super cool to think about.
Yeah, I can imagine just Breakfast Club, that shitty day Ferris pops in. Hey, you guys want to get out of here?
If you ever want to like relive your teenage years, you just watch all the John Hughes movies in a day.
Yeah, dude, like John Hughes makes being in the 80s as a teenager seem like the greatest thing. And oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I think now is a good point to talk about I think Ferris and Cameron's rooms are very interesting. Like John Hughes based Ferris's room off his own high school bedroom. So, and he's supposed to represent Ferris's mind and the fact that it's all cluttered with pop culture and like everything. And then you cut to Cameron's bedroom, which is so barren and so cold. And like, it's so interesting to me, like how he establishes the characters through rooms and things like that. Did you guys pick up on that?
I did not. I don't
The
even
music
remember.
even changed between cuts too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so it's so good. John Hughes is so well with the camera. Like he also does a lot of establishing shots with close-ups, like the high school scene with all of them bored and stuff like that, and then as well as the police station where he just like opens a cut to like really close-up shots of really police things,
Yeah.
and then back to like the actors, and you're just there, and you're like kind of exactly where they are. Like I'm fully aware of the situation. And that's just some of the reasons I love John Hughes.
That's a real cool filming technique, actually. It's like for as far as mise en scène goes, like to establish where they are.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Oh yeah. And then I mean, as well as like other cool camera angles, when they're looking over New York City and he's got the upward shot from like that weird angle, so they're like leaning over the top of the screen. That's so cool.
I still classify the principal, Rooney, as an antagonist because he hit the dog with a pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Kick the dog. That's how you establish evil characters in storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta save the cat if you want to be a hero. You can kick the dog and be a villain. And yeah, Rooney is I just see him as comic relief. Like the guy like has no chance of catching
Yeah, no,
Ferris.
he's definitely a catalyst. He doesn't have any play in the story, really.
Yeah, he just kind of keeps the tension up throughout the film.
Yeah,
Keeps the story going.
but the best part is definitely Ruth is her name, or Grace?
The secretary.
Yeah,
Oh,
Grace. Yeah. Oh my gosh, she is so amazing in this movie. Like the secretary who knows everything, knows the students' schedules, knows who's dating everyone. Like just like that busy boss, but a busy bottle. Yeah.
Just the complete polar opposite of Rooney.
Yeah, that's exactly like he doesn't know what's going on. You can't control school. This one woman's like, I know everything.
They just tell me.
Yeah, Ferris is a righteous dude. She is just a little ball. Like that's why I also love her interaction with Jeannie, just purely because she's like doesn't like her, and she kind of seems to like everyone. Like
Yeah.
she hangs out with Rooney all day. Oh, there's just so many good characters in this movie. Like just really good picks of the people who are like main. Like great casting. Like I'm sure John Hughes thought a lot about it. And then what else? Man, I just love this movie so goddamn much. Let's talk about the sound and music, because like this movie was amazing with that.
Do you know
Like,
who scored the film?
I don't remember, but man, like the fact that they like work in like Donkashane and that just keeps popping up as like a motif of the movie.
Yeah, that happened in the police.
Yeah, and Rooney thing.
Or when they jump the car and they're playing like the Star Wars music.
Yeah,
Just pop culture references.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. And then the like
Boom,
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 boom.
boom.
Yeah.
It's just like
We all
so.
had to do it.
Yeah, of course, it's so fun to do. It's just like it's so iconic to this movie, and it's been stolen so many other times to represent that. Like I got away with it. Like Oh, so well
The
scored.
music just lines up with exactly what's going on the screen.
This is one of the first movies to have a after credit scene, right?
I don't know.
Probably early, but I don't really know.
I love when movies do that. It really makes you love staying for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Definitely makes you watch all the credits.
Yeah, and then Ferris's and the full end credit scene and stuff where he's just like, "All right, sleep, just sleep, go, get out of here."
It's over.
And then Deadpool even stole that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
There's so much of like, well, Ferris Bueller and Deadpool,
Are so similar.
they're crossover so much. Just this witty, fourth wall breaking
main character.
Yeah. Just
But he's also an anti-hero.
Yeah, very true.
And then, man, I just like John Hughes with these movies. I think the best part about him is just he makes him human, you know? Like, the human experience. It's not these wild, like, Ferris Bueller is definitely, like, a wild situation and stuff like that, and they're usually put in them, but, like, Breakfast Club and stuff like that is just the human experience, and he can just pull that across. And I think that's why his movies are still watched today, and people still put them in theaters, like...
What would you say if they had made a Ferris Bueller sequel where he's in college?
Yeah, I heard that they were thinking about doing it. That it was either going to be him in college or him into like a future job, and he needs another day off. I wouldn't really want a sequel. I can see how it could be good, but I can see how it could be bad. What I would want is like a retelling of them, like a modern Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, just keep doing it over and over, like different years. But again, I think Matthew Broderick said,
like a modern.
Oh yeah,
one,
no.
Like with like technology and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
Ferris
you're
Bueller. Oh, sorry. Like a modern.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like a modern, just like retelling of the story.
But yeah, Matthew Broderick said like he would never do a sequel because he thought this like summed up Ferris perfectly. It doesn't need to be altered.
Yeah.
Like that was literally him saying it's over.
They did make a TV show though.
Did they?
Yeah, it did not do well, and I think like it had one episode or something, but it was
Just
going to
the
be
pilot.
like a backstory. But like, you couldn't do it without John Hughes. Like, you couldn't.
It would have to be a John Hughes movie.
Yeah, and it exists perfectly as a movie. You know, it doesn't need any more story there. You know, you walk away satisfied. Like, characters, you know what's going to happen. You know, Ferris is going to go out into the world and probably become an adult, but one of the fun adults.
I don't think any of them are going to college.
What do you mean?
Well,
Yeah, well,
like that's what Ferris said in the beginning of the show. He was like, "Well, I don't think Cameron's going to college."
why?
Why did he say that?
In the beginning, he said he's not going to college because his roommate would kill him.
Oh, well, no, he said he can't send him to college like this, or his roommate will kill him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're going to college. Like, I think both. I mean, like, again, Ferris Bueller has great grades. I think he has like a 3.8 GPA.
I still think it's hacked.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's hacked, that's what colleges see.
Yeah.
So, if he's smart enough to hack it, he's probably smart enough to just pass the classes.
Yeah.
Just skate through life.
He's not a dumb man.
No, he just understands people so well, like how they'll react to things. Like, honestly, he's a con man. Like, that's what he is. He's the confidence man. He's just convincing you that his story is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a great. Oh, I love it so much. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of just. I could go on forever, but I feel like we've kind of hit all the topics of Ferris Bueller. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the movie?
I would definitely say 10 out of 10. I'm gonna watch this again. Great movie.
Same. 10 for me.
Definitely 10.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a grading system. But
Yeah.
There wasn't. I just made one up.
Oh, we usually rate them out of 10 or 5, but it's
definitely one of the best movies made. I think everybody can agree on that for the most part.
Oh yeah.
it's just that I don't know. I just feel like it's such a perfect slice of life of man. I could just if I could get away with it all.
It might be my favorite John Hughes movie.
Summarized in one word: classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Okay, well, thank you for listening to Soft Focus. I am your host, Connor Hamilton, and I was joined today with...
Patrick Guinan.
And Michael Guinan.
Next week we'll be back with the Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson. So be on the lookout for that, and thank you again for listening.